Welcome to a terrifyingly wonderful weekly topic episode from the NPCs for the week of October 31st, 2020. The scary, the spooky, the altogether ooky doesn't just belong to the Addams family, nor does the slashing, the blood, or the jump scares belong to just Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. Video games can also be just as terrifying. In this week's topic episode, we sit in the darkness of the room with only the glow coming from the TV to light up the room, hold our breath as we make each turn, and jump and run away as we are frightened by the top horror video games. My name is Travis, and of course, I am joined by Preston. And Kyle.
Well, hello.
All right, let me go ahead and turn down our intro here. That, of course, everybody, was the intro from Dead Space 1. Welcome aboard the USG Ishimura, and I thought it definitely fit the topic here. So, guys, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Well, as I'm adjusting my audio over here on my mic and, trying to manage all this is exciting. I'm actually doing all right. I just, oh, man. Horror video games and the like, it's, I don't know really what to say else about it. I don't do well with horror games, so.
Do they scare you?
They do. I pushed myself so hard when the original Dead Space came out on PC to sit there with my headphones on, staring at the screen and playing it with the lights on only just a little bit. And, I ran away kind of like with my tail between my legs. It was not fun.
That's weird. I've never had that experience with horror games.
You and I are two completely different people, though, Preston.
I know. Thank you.
Yeah, I think me and Preston are more on the same page. Like, take it home, play in the middle of the night, all the lights off, volume really loud.
You can still give me a good jump scare, but I can very easily separate myself from the actual game and the immersion of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's good for you, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, I'll even fully admit this, because Preston, I think this is one I haven't told you before. But even the Cave of Wonders opening scene from Aladdin, to this day, like, I was actually watching that movie with my kids, that still scares the shit out of me even to this day, and I don't know why.
Don't feel bad, man. James the Giant Peach terrifies the shit out of me. So
that one doesn't as much.
We're not alone in weird things that, for some odd reason, scare the hell out of us. Find that movie very unsettling.
Well.
But you, Kyle, just Dirty Dancing. Footloose? Was it Footloose?
Maximum Overdrive. with the cars that come alive,
That's the one that does it?
Wow.
Yeah, that's the one that does it.
Was that on our list?
I don't see
that's
it
a movie.
There. I'm sure it probably has a video game tie-in somewhere.
I don't think it does.
I'm gonna look it up. While you do that, Sherm, you can read out my list.
Do I even have the title of that movie right?
It sounds right to me.
That sounds right. The one with it had it looked like the semi-truck had like a green goblin.
Yeah, it was Maximum Overdrive.
I remember. God damn, this is some shit right here. This is no Zombievers, but this is pretty good. That's a good one. Let's watch Zombievers.
Yeah, I'm good.
What about Death Bus or something like that?
Oh my god.
To tell you guys about Death Bus sometimes. It's got Tara Reid, so you know it's good.
Oh.
Oh yeah, because every quintessential horror movie has Tara Reid in
Tara Reid. It's just to scare the kids. Make sure you don't end up like this.
It is. Yeah, it really feels like it is, because she hasn't been too relevant since, God, back, in our day, with American Pie and God, what
She
else
came
was
back
she
with
in?
Sharknado.
Oh shit, she did, didn't
that-
she?
Yeah, she thought whales and sharks were the same thing, though. And that was a pretty good review, or a pretty good interview I saw with her doing that. Everyone's like, oh my god, this woman's so stupid. I love Tara Reid.
I liked her in everything that she was in, though, too. I mean, like, what is it? That Josie and the Pussycats live action movie wasn't bad. It's definitely a product of its time for sure. American Pie movies are all still good, though. And then Big Lebowski.
You like the American Pie movies still?
I don't really like them as much as I did. It's kind of neat to go back and watch them every once in a while, but it's not like something I'd go and look up on one of the streaming services to just go and watch right off the bat. It's like if it's on TV, it's like, oh, okay, cool, I'll put it on and that. But no, it's nothing that I actually have going.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can let that go. It's not gonna make me upset.
Thank God. Anyway, so let's circle back around here because we're terrified of everything else going on. Let's circle around back to our topic of top horror video games. So on our list this week, we have... Okay, now I got to ask on this one at least. Is this the remake or is this the original?
Does it matter?
Remake's better. Let's go with remake.
Okay, so on our list, starting off Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 7, Dead Space, Layers of Fear, Amnesia Dark Descent, Outlast, Fatal Frame 2, Until Dawn, Little Nightmares, Dead by Daylight, Blair Witch, Observation, Alien Isolation, Evil Within 2, Condemned, Silent Hill 2, PT, Soma, Eternal Darkness, Alan Wake, Fear, Slenderman: The Missing Pages, Metro Last Light, Manhunt, Left 4 Dead, Prey, Remothered, Saw, Zombie U, Night Trap, Bloodborne, Alone in the Dark, Clock Tower, Dead Rising, and Dying Light.
What did I miss, guys? Anything?
Well, I didn't put the emphasis on the question marked ones there for sure, but Zombie U, I don't know why. I forgot about that game even existing.
That was a cool game.
Which one?
Zombie U.
That's a kind of a cool game, Sherm. That's got some cool mechanics in it.
Yeah, it's got some really neat
that are pretty unique for a zombie game. We can talk about that. Is that the first one you want to go after? Really? The first
no,
one?
It's not the first one. No, it's not the first one I wanted to go after.
First one. This is the first one then. Go ahead, Sherm.
No, what is the first one here?
Bro.
Okay. Well.
Saw, you're right. We should take that off the list. Nice job.
Fine, then
that
get rid of it.
game is better than most movie tie-in games, but that is not. It is not a top 10 at all. So I'll cut that one. I'll start it.
Good for you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Night Trap, really?
I think that one needs to go too.
He
That
just
was such a
giggled like a
stupid-
little schoolgirl.
That one's such a stupid game. It needs to go.
No, wait. We're being dismissive. It's amazing. Do you not remember?
What, Burglar Ninjas?
Oh.
Seriously?
What about the real teen rapey vibes that you can get in it? Where they're just having...
Then that, I think, itself is what nullifies it on this list.
You're right.
Get rid of it.
No, I just wanted to put it on there. Just wanted to see if anybody was paying attention. Yeah, no. Somehow it wasn't the first thing cut, though. Yeah, cut it.
Where the hell is it at on here? Oh, yeah.
It's under zombie.
Yeah, I see it. Okay. Okay, it is gone.
Give me one, Sherm. Come on, give it to me.
That's what I'm looking at here.
I'll tell you whether it sucks or not.
Dead Rising, I don't know if that necessarily would be a horror game more than anything. It seems more like just an action survival more than anything. You're not necessarily getting a lot of the scares or the it feels more like an action survival that just happens to have zombies and whatnot in it. It doesn't feel like a horror game.
What about the psychos in it? Those are kind of unsettling.
Yeah, but how often are they really there though compared to the rest of what you're interacting with. I mean, you're going around collecting survivors. You know, the game itself, like if we're talking about the original,
25% of the game.
You know what I find unsettling?
What?
An upskirt picture of a zombie being erotic.
There is also
Preston knows. Preston knows.
You're the only one.
So
I find it very
I find that
unsettling.
erotic, not unsettling.
I find that unsettling.
So there's
An
that.
upskirt photo
Okay,
of a zombie.
fine.
Okay. Yeah, I
You're
think
right. It's not gonna make top 10. I think there is an argument you can make that it is somewhat horror, but
no,
I
it's
guess
just
not
that you can go
compared
and
to some of these
slap
others,
you
you're
can
right.
go and slap a Lego rip-off head onto a zombie and take a picture and have this thing
yeah,
chase
there's
it
too much
around.
goofy in it. Okay, yeah, there's too much goofy. You're right.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking. It's more like action survival. It's if Shaun of the Dead had its own video game.
I guess we gotta take Dying Light off then too.
Where is that one at on here?
At
There
the
it
very
is.
bottom.
Very bottom. Yeah. Get that out of here too.
Although I will say the nighttime zombies. I'm not saying I was scared, but I was much more anxious at night running around the open world because the nighttime zombies. I can't remember what the fuck they were called. They were way stronger, way faster. They could fly even in some points. Like they were insanely strong, and those were somewhat terrifying. But overall, I did not ever have a sense of fear or dread in that game. So goodbye.
Okay. Well, Kyle,
I do like that game though.
why don't you make mention of something?
Layers of Fear.
Yeah, move along.
Move along.
Move along. Pick something else. I just finished it.
Oh,
pretty good.
okay. I see.
It's pretty sweet. I don't know if it's recency bias or not, but that thing has some real fucking cool shit going on in it.
Shoot.
I don't know if it'll make top 10, but it is way too soon to cut that one.
Does PT really belong on here? I mean, it's a good horror demo. It's not a full game, though.
You're right. I'll have to cut it on a technicality.
Thank you. I was going to ask about
But-
that one.
I would still take it over most of the shit on this list as far as like how scary and uneasy I was playing that fucking game or demo,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. That was pretty fucking awesome though.
Oh, it
Never
was.
got-
It just sucks that it never actually did come out.
Do you like I always liked the two that always got me were the ones where the girl would be at the top of the stairs when you would walk through, and you'd look up and you'd see her looking at you. That one always freaked me out. And then always when I walked by one of the doors and I turned around and it slid open and it was the one with the crying fetus inside the sink. And I was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. That had some real disturbing imagery and it looked so good.
See, and I never played it, but I watched walkthroughs, and I don't know. It probably is a little bit more unsettling when you're playing it, because watching a YouTube of someone playing it, it's not that unsettling at all.
No, horror games. I definitely think you have to play them to feel that anxiety and uneasiness. But yeah, go ahead and cut it. It's not a full game.
Okay. Bye-bye, PT. It's a good concept for what it could have been. It's just a shame that everything went to shit in that whole deal and conversation.
That is a real bummer. It's a bummer you can't get it anymore either.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what you can do in Dreams now. I mean, people have completely replicated it there in Dreams.
Same. I know, but it's not the same.
That's true. That's
You're
very true.
wrong. It's not. It's just not the same. But you're not wrong. But Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh my god, what am I gonna cut here? Left 4 Dead. I do
Left
not
4
find.
Dead?
I don't find that to be a horror. I find that to fit more into the Dead Rising and Dying Light category.
I don't think it fits into that category, but I'll buy that it doesn't necessarily belong on a horror list. I think it's more of an action game.
I think it definitely can have its scary moments. I think the scarier part of Left 4 Dead is probably like the witch. I think out of everything
The
you
witch
get in
and
that
the
game,
smokers, right?
the smoker's not as much really. I think it's you hear the growl of the it's not the witch, not the other witch, but the what's the one that actually like pounces on you?
The jockey?
No, it's not the jockey. That's from I'm talking like
no,
from the original.
No. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know, yeah. I don't know what the fuck they're called.
Yeah, it's the growl from that I think like you hear
Yeah.
that in the background. And it's like, oh crap, it's nearby, and then boom, you're hit by the then you got the witch as well too, and it has its own music that's supposed to be unsettling. The tank is just a frustrating boss to go against.
Yeah, him
anyway.
and the. What are the ones that spit? The bloaters?
I know the boomers are the ones that blow up.
Boomer, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is more actiony, so I'm of the same mindset there that probably should go anyway.
If there was more that dealt with like the witch kind of thing, because I am legit, I don't want to say scared, but like fearful of seeing a witch. I'm like, God damn it! I start paying attention. I get on. My hair is standing on end. I'm pretty focused when I hear a witch in the background. So I hear that a lot in the game. So. That was mine, so someone else has to pick one.
Man, there are some good ones on here, and it's tough to really kind of point out one here. Damn, I don't know. I mean, like my experience with horror games is only to like certain points on here, so it's kind of tough to really judge some of these against each other now. I mean, we could talk about Zombie U, I guess, right now, just to kind of sort this one out, because Zombie U was I thought was a rail shooter.
No.
I thought it was for the Wii.
It is an open world, Ubisoft's almost funny looking game. The thing, it mixes elements of Dark Souls to where like you can go into your, because it first came out on Wii U, so what it would use is the gamepad would be like your inventory. So to like look into your backpack to get items and stuff, it wouldn't pause the game to do that. So you'd be looking like in your bottom screen, trying to pick stuff out, and shit could be happening at the top screen still. Zombies could be coming, things like that. That was a cool little thing that kept you in the moment. There technically was a pause screen, but you couldn't do any kind of inventory management or anything like that. That was all in-game, in real time.
Oh, okay.
That was a pretty cool thing. And then if you did die, the permadeath kind of thing, you would see yourself as a zombie. Was a pretty cool thing if you would go back to where you were. That was a really cool mechanic.
You could potentially get killed by your previous life.
Yeah, it was a really cool idea. I do have some knocks against it. I think the combat is pretty clunky. You only have one melee weapon the whole time. It's that giant croquet mallet that you just fuck shit up with. Or cricket bat, I think is what it was. Because it takes place in London. I don't know if it'll make it, but I don't think we can cut that one yet.
Okay.
What do you think, Kyle? Like, I don't know, man. It's got some real cool ideas in it.
It's got some cool ideas, but we're going to have to cut some of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't just hold on to everything here just because they have some cool ideas.
I don't know. I don't think it stands up to some of the other ones on the list. It could probably go, I think. It's a good game, but
Okay,
I don't think it's top 10 for me.
Okay. It probably isn't. You're right. It feels early to cut that one, but okay. You're right. There are a lot more I'm going to fight. There's ones I'm going to fight way harder for than that, so.
Then do we want to go to our other question marked one here? Or excuse me, our last question marked one with Bloodborne? Does that really count as a horror game? I mean, it definitely looks the part, but you guys have both played this one, so you would know better than I would.
I feel like that one has more gothic and horror elements, but it's, I don't know.
What's the idea of a survival horror game, though? Like, it's limited resources. It's danger at every corner. I mean, that's what Bloodborne kind of is. I don't know. That's a tough call for me. I'm not scared playing Bloodborne, though.
Yeah, no, because you're expecting everything.
Yeah, you know where everything is. There's no jump scares.
And if you don't, I mean, you might jump because something surprises you the first time, but, the 10th time you've died and gone through there, it's not going to scare you much anymore. I
think some of the bosses could.
I don't know. I don't find it to be a horror game personally.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Let's take it out.
I mean,
Miss you, Bloodborne.
there could be argument for it, but yeah, I don't know. There's other ones I want to fight for.
That's fair.
Yeah, like I was gonna ask here as well too about like Dead by Daylight as an example. I mean, I know it's a
Move
horror
along,
survival, but it's
Move along. I'm not ready yet.
Just because you have a hard on for that game.
that's also a very big fact too, is that you have a hard on for that game. So
You're right. I will talk myself into it later, probably, but I won't right now.
okay, well then I made the recommendation on Bloodborne. So Kyle.
Slender Man.
Okay.
Oh, that's a cool one. It has one real scare. Like, it has one thing it does, which is the idea that the Slender Man can come out at any time.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was super lame.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay.
I don't know. It's just like, you know what's gonna happen. It's gonna be totally random. You're gonna turn around and he's gonna be there in the distance, and you're gonna go, "Oh shit! Well, I'm probably gonna die here real soon."
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead, do it. It's fine.
Well, there you go. It's gone now. So
It's a good fucking game.
there's some of these that it's like I don't know if I can actually like recommend a cut. I like a lot of these. Like I hate horror games, but I'm not straying away from the fact that some of these are really good horror games though.
How about we cut Observation? I think that one barely fits into the horror, if at all.
Is it more just the environment that gives you the feeling that it's like that it should be
Kinda.
something horror related? Okay.
Yeah, and I mean there are scary moments that it works with, but there are also like really sweet moments. So it's almost like it's just a story. It's not necessarily a horror game. It's not. I don't know. It's just and the scary moments are far and few between. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, and as far as like actual gameplay, because since that game does nothing but an AI puzzle solve routine kind of thing, not much fear or anxiety in the gameplay. So, no, yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, it's out of there.
Talk myself into it.
Kyle.
How about
I had a
Metro?
recommendation.
What?
I was about to say Metro, actually.
I was gonna say, how about Metro?
Yeah. It's a first-person shooter that has a few horror elements sprinkled in. It's not a horror game, though.
I'll go with that too. It fits a little more into the action.
Okay.
Probably
It's a
actually
great
should have cut
game,
that
though.
one. It is. That is a really good game. We probably should have cut that one sooner than a lot of these.
Probably.
I think it's just because we see some of these, we get locked on. It's like, oh, yeah, that should probably go.
Zombie U shouldn't have gone before that, but whatever.
I'm rolling my eyes just enough for you, Preston, okay?
You can roll your eyes back to the front of your head, Missy. There's it. I guess Kyle and I just did that one. I think we should cut Alone in the Dark.
Yeah, probably.
I think Alone in the Dark would have... If you were going pure nostalgia, yeah, that is maybe the first survival horror game. I can't think if it is or not, but at least one of the very first. But God, has it aged so poorly.
Yeah.
None of that would even come close to doing anything to you today, so I think we should cut that one.
Okay. I don't have any problem with it. It definitely seems more like it teeters on the psychological side of things than it really does with the actual horror part of it. I mean, psychological stuff is going to be scary anyway, but I think you're right. I think it definitely has aged itself, like, out of the list.
You should watch some videos on it, Germ. Like, you should watch some videos on the original Alone in the Dark. and be like, wow, this is not so good.
Well, we've had this game on our list several different times, so I'm pretty sure I've seen quite a few videos on it. But I can always go back and look at it later on. Well, I don't know what.
Can we do Clock Tower 2 for the same reasons?
Is it an aged one too?
I think if we do Clock Tower, we almost have to do Fatal Frame.
Oh, no way. Fatal Frame still plays okay. But why do you think that? Why do you
I
think
guess
that?
you're right. I don't know. I just graphically it hasn't aged well.
Fatal Frame has not. Yeah, but luckily Fatal Frame 2 did such a better job with the ghosts.
That is true.
Instead of them looking like plastic cardboard cutouts walking at you. It's not perfect, but I think that has a really cool mechanic. I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'll let you hold on to it. I'll take it back. I retract my previous statement.
What about Clock Tower? What do we think?
Yeah, probably. I mean, don't get me wrong. That is one of the very first good classic horror games, but it doesn't hold up.
That's kind of where I'm at with it.
There are a few of them that I haven't played though. Soma. I haven't played it.
Soma is if you combined BioShock's underwater environment with Amnesia's no weapons and monsters chasing you around, and each monster's a puzzle kind of thing, mixed with like Dead Space's claustrophobia kind of feel and emptiness but it's underwater versus space, but it has more of that feel. Soma. Let me look at this list. I don't know. That's a really cool world they built out of it. It is a survival horror game. It is the Amnesia formula of no combat or Outlast, wherever you want to call those ones. So it's one of those, but let me see where this goes. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Okay, the next one I had a question about. Remothered.
It can go. It's not going to make it. I think that game is better than it gets credit for. I haven't played the second one. But we'll cut it. It's fine.
Definitely looked terrifying as shit, though.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. At least, I don't know. I found it to be, but a lot of people share my view on that one, so I'm willing to let it go. Blair Witch probably isn't going to go much further.
I think it was a good throwback to, because Blair Witch had really been out of the horror lexicon for so long, and then now it came back in video game form, and I think they did a good job with the video game itself, though. But I mean, how long is the game itself, though? It's like only 8 hours, 10?
Not even that. It's like 5 to 6 at the most.
Is it a short one? Okay.
Yeah, it's really short, but honestly, I would rather horror games be short, for the most part. Yeah, it's just not as technically pretty as some of these others, and there's a lot of things I don't like as far as like actual combat is not very fun. I thought puzzles were kind of boring. And it already stole the Alan Wake flashlight as your weapon. So even that mechanic wasn't very original.
Huh.
That you scare the Blair Witch off is by flashing light in her eyes. I mean, that element of it was really cool, wandering through the woods and they'd be fucking with you. Like, you'd pass a tree, you'd run through like a meadow or something, and you go past this tree, and then you go through this canyon, you come back out the same side, and it's the same tree. You're like, how the fuck did I go in a giant circle? I mean, it's a game, so obviously I knew that's how it happened. But it did do that idea of like, holy shit, we're lost in these woods, we cannot get out. And it's just fucking with us. And I thought the game does a really good job with that, but I just don't think it's going to be top 10.
That's fair.
Okay, well, there it goes.
I liked you, Blair Witch. I liked you better than most.
Which one was Little Nightmares now? I'm trying to recall that one.
That game's fucking creepy. It's a 2D platformer, actually. A puzzle platformer. It looks like Tim Burton got a hold of it.
No, that does sound familiar.
Take a look at Little Nightmares. It's not like necessarily scary, but it is extremely unsettling and creepy. The different kinds of bosses you have to fight. This is one you got to look at and see if it hits you. If it doesn't, I don't know. That one found the unsettling nature of Little Nightmares very, very good. This one's really good. It was really short too. It was like 5 hours, which I was really happy with. Trying to remember my favorite one of the bosses. The chef was pretty fucking creepy. The one with the hands was really creepy. God damn,
What's the combat like?
There's not any combat.
There's not.
No, there isn't any combat. You'll solve a puzzle to stop the boss in some way, but there's no like actual combat.
Huh.
Yeah, it's just it's a platformer, puzzle platformer, something like a Limbo or a Inside kind of thing. But I actually like this better than Limbo and Inside, which is saying something for me because I like those games a whole hell of a lot. Yeah, take a look at that one. Then come back to me. We'll see.
Okay.
I think we should cut Prey.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it was
think
freaky.
I think it was.
I don't think it was scary.
I think you get so settled in with it. Probably about 30% of the way through the game. I feel like I was a third of the way through, and I wasn't really worrying about what kind of monsters were chasing me or what kind of alien it was.
I don't even know that I was that far in.
Maybe even faster for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should cut Prey.
I thought the enemies were actually pesky more than anything.
Yeah, once you get to a point, yeah, it's like, now I need to make sure I have the right kind of weapons to kill this particular enemy. He's like, he's more prone to like a static electricity attacks or something, so I could do that to stun him and then blast him with a shotgun.
You're getting in the way of my game.
Yeah. Once you know how to take him down, it's not a fearful thing. I guess in the beginning when you don't know anything and you're still learning your way through that game, yeah, it's got a little bit of a fear factor to it.
Yeah, that's...
Okay. Now I will say, even though I know we're going to cut it, Dead by Daylight is a horror game.
It is a horror game.
All the characters
are horror characters.
And it starts out very much as a horror game where you are... the beginning survivors are very scared of the killer in that game. They hear a heartbeat and they start hiding because they're panicking. They don't know what to do. As soon as the killer starts chasing them, they panic. They don't know what to do. That is what a horror game is supposed to instill the feeling of. I think the game does eventually, though, get to a point where the good players, survivors aren't scared of me anymore. When I got up to the high ranks, they just don't care about. They'll just run me around pallets and shit. The game changes at that point. But when you first start, I would have fought for this. But now, no. By the progression, by the natural progression of the game, I think it takes it off this list.
Well, I think the only thing that's horrifying about Dead by Daylight is how I handle generators. That's it. That's all it is.
Did you get worried though when a killer would come over and after you fucked up a generator? Would you go into hide mode and like, oh god, don't find me?
More so than anything, I just followed you and Dan around and just juked the killer.
That probably didn't help. You were playing with me and Dan because Dan and I were already to that point where we like to fuck with the killers. So we'd run over there and like throw rocks at him and shit. Yeah, it probably didn't help that we did it that way.
No, it really didn't.
By Dead by Daylight.
It was funny as shit, but it was...
You lasted as long as you could. There was no fucking way.
Oh, awesome.
I knew you guys weren't going to be nice and just let me have it. What are we up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 18. Holy shit.
We got plenty.
Now, give me one.
Oh. Dang. Man, this is getting tough.
Yeah.
I keep looking at Manhunt, and I know it's a really good horror game. I found it more unsettling than spooky.
It hasn't aged well.
Yeah, it hasn't. Like
Okay.
you look at
Okay.
the graphics now, especially when you're looking at the from the camera views and stuff. You're like, what the hell am I looking at?
Yeah.
Like there was controversy over this shit. I don't even know what I'm looking at.
Compared to what's left, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I sent you guys a link to this. Hey, watch these bosses and tell me what you think of Little Nightmares. As far as
I was reading
unsettling
it.
horror game.
Like I was reading the stuff, you know. I wasn't.
I just bought it, so.
Like literally while we're recording this, you just bought
Yeah,
this.
I just bought it.
It's a damn good fucking game. I love that game. Yeah, but you give those a watch and see what you think of those bosses, and they're just fucking terrifying.
I mean, the complete edition on Steam was on sale for Halloween for $4.79. It's normally like $30.
Yeah,
so.
like and that came with like 3 extra bosses. The DLC does.
It came with like
3 extra.
there was like 6 extra packs on it or something like that. So.
Are there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game is I really like
it looks unsettling.
Like just watching some of these again, like this first guy that they show off, this guy with the mummy mask and these like 18-foot long arms. Like half the first part of this game when you first see him, he's just reaching around corners and shit trying to grab you. This is just a cool fucking game, man. Like, I could understand if someone doesn't think it's a horror game because there's no gore. There's none of that kind of stuff in it. It's
There
not
doesn't
even
have
really
to be, though, in a horror
necessarily
game.
have to be gore.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any of that. It doesn't really even have jump scares in it too. Like you see things coming a mile away. It's like, God, I don't like what's happening at this moment. I don't know. I haven't decided on that one yet. Sorry. We'll see.
I don't know. I think I have, but obviously Steam thinks it's a horror game.
Steam does think it's a horror game, and they are usually okay about that.
Yeah.
All right, Kyle. I have a feeling this is going to be a contentious one. Alan Wake.
Oh.
I like that game a hell of a lot.
You know, that's one of my favorite games too. It's
I'm
like
right there with you.
Like probably top 5 for me.
Do you feel it's an actual horror game?
Probably not. I mean, the first few times
It's unsettling.
they jump out at you. You're like, you know, and yeah, it's the shadow people. They're very unsettling.
The beginning, though, right? Like towards the end, I don't.
Huge sense of tension. If you play that on hard mode, just
You're right.
yeah. Oh my god.
The environments are really nice too, with the fog through the woods.
That and I love the narration. I know it was a big fault for some people, but the fact that he's an author and he's like narrating his entire journey, like he's writing the book right there. I thought that was so cool. Like it just added to the whole aspect of it. But
it is really good.
I don't know. I don't think it's gonna make it.
I really like Alan Wake too. I just don't know if I'd count it as a horror game as much.
Yeah.
I don't think I would either.
You play shit. Not even just the hardest mode, but even the one down from the hardest mode. Because I think there's like 4 or 5 difficulties on that one. It can get tough, and it gets.
Let's hold on to it for a second. I just wanted to see what the response was, to be honest. I'm not necessarily against that one either. Like,
yeah,
you do have limited ammo. You do. It's a sense of dread. There is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Fear. What do we think? If Alma isn't on the screen, I would not consider that a horror game.
Yeah.
And she only
Alma's
appears
the only thing, like 4 or 5 times the whole game.
Yeah, and so it's
yeah, but I think that's part of the whole tension of it too, though.
Yep. Yeah.
Is that not knowing when she's going to appear?
Well, yeah, the first time you play it, and then you know.
That's true.
But it's not like she shows up and just can kill you at any time. She shows up in scripted moments.
Yeah, that's very true. That, and you get to the end of any of them. It's not like, a big horror finale. It's like kind of that. I mean, it gets super unsettling, and that it's like, oh, that's spooky kooky, and then it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the fear games though.
I do too. Almost actually one of my favorite characters because little kid goes scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So she scares the hell out of me.
Oh man, I bought that one when it first came out on PC, and the ragdoll on it was fantastic on PC versus the Xbox.
Oh yeah, like when you would do a slowdown for a shotgun blast and shit. Oh yeah, it was fucking great. But I don't know, the majority of the game is just killing those soldiers. It's like 90% of the game.
Yeah. That is very true.
A shooter with some horror aspects to it.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, I think I would cut that at this point.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and pull it off of there.
Like, I'd rather hold on to Alan Wake than I would Fear.
Okay.
Yeah, so would I.
What are we down to? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We're going to let both Resident Evils be on there?
I don't know.
If we decide to only do one, I'd actually take 7 as a survival horror game over 2.
Yeah.
I think because,
7 has a much more immersive horror feel than 2 does.
Oh, hell yeah. Especially, when you're fighting the dad.
Yeah. And you don't, have any weapons. He's just busting through doors in the house, and you can't get away.
Busting through doors. Hell, he's bursting through friggin' walls.
Yeah. Imagine that along with, the VR support. I don't know if that should really come into our logic, but it's another set of immersion in that game that 2 just doesn't have.
Yeah, and the whole frickin' the car sequence. Jesus Christ, that's one of those ones. Just fucking die already.
Well, 7 really embodied a lot of what we saw, with Amnesia and Outlast actually being successful as games, and really brought a lot of that in. I mean, we were talking about Resident Evil 7, a few weeks ago, for reboots, I think, or remakes. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was reboots. And it seemed like it really pulled in some of the best from these other games that had come out because Resident Evil had strayed so far away. The Resident Evil 2 remake really does well to bring back what Resident Evil 2 was, but I think 7 actually, I think you guys are right. I think it does offer that level of immersion and fear, that you probably don't get in the other Resident Evil games anymore.
I think so. I think 2 is a better game, but I think Resident Evil 7 is a better horror game. I guess is where I come down on it.
So I'm good with 2 going.
No.
Okay with it.
Yeah, some of those fights
Heavy hitter, baby.
too are just like, the mom. Ugh.
I think that part of horror is the unsettling feeling you get, like that when your hairs stand up on your fucking arms and shit. And you're like, ooh, I just don't feel comfortable right now. And I think 7 does that. Like the first time you meet the family around that fucking table, that's a hell of a theme right there.
Yeah.
What are we down to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15. Shit.
Damn.
Want to do locked?
Yeah, I think we're at that point now that we need to start locking in our list.
Okay. 7's a lock for me.
7's a lock for me.
Same here.
Dead Space is a lock for me.
Me as well.
Yep.
I don't even know about Layers of Fear, so
Not for me.
move along. Amnesia is a lock for me.
Yes. It is for me.
Yeah, I think so.
Outlast is not a lock for me.
I'm on the opposite of that. I feel like Outlast is a lock for me.
I could go either way, so I think that's one that we need to not lock yet.
Okay, so we need to talk about that one.
That's fair.
Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame is a lock for me.
I'm not sold.
Okay.
Until Dawn.
Is not a lock for me.
Okay.
I
Little
think
Nightmares
it is for me.
Until Dawn is.
Yeah.
Little Nightmares is a lock for me, but I don't know about you guys.
I think I was convinced there. Watching those videos and kind of reading the synopsis of what the game is about, I think it's a very interesting take on the way horror games are presented, because the rest of these games are either like, first person or third person games.
Agree.
Like none of these get really out of that norm, and Little Nightmares does, but still maintains a lot of that that horror genre. And you're absolutely right. It does look like if Tim Burton got his hands on something here and, decided to make a game like this, it just, it takes what he normally does and ratchets that dial all the way up to 11, because you don't see a Tim Burton movie like this. You don't see anything this over the top, at least, or this level of horrifying, I suppose. So
It gives me like Coraline vibes when I played that game.
That's what I was actually thinking.
It does.
And I don't know
actually,
if
I was going to
Coraline
make
is
that
a horror movie.
I was going to make a comparison. Yeah, that Coraline, I don't know if it would necessarily be a horror movie, but it kind of borders there for me.
I'm kind of with you. Like, and that's the way I feel about Little Nightmares. And Little Nightmares, I think Sherm actually had a really good point. I didn't really even think about. All these others are shooters or the run and hide game. Mm-hmm. It's not what Little Nightmares is, and it's so different from the rest of these. Yeah, that's a lock for me. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I think so.
Like we locked that one in then.
Okay.
Alien Isolation is a lock for me, but I don't know about you guys.
I would say it is.
I think it is.
Okay. Evil Within 2?
That's a lock for me, but I know I'm going to have to talk you into it if I can. Not you, but Kyle specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Condemned 2, Condemned. Damn. I think Condemned's a lock.
I think it is.
Okay.
It's a tough call, but I really do think that is. Silent Hill 2. I think that's a lock.
I've never really been a fan of the Silent Hill games, so I could go either way on it.
Okay, let's talk about that one then.
Okay. Soma?
I don't know.
And Soma's one I've never played.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to make some tough calls here. I'm not sure yet.
Mm-hmm. Eternal Darkness?
I don't know.
That's a lock for me.
I'm not sure.
Okay. And then lastly, Alan Wake.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I love you, Alan Wake.
I do too. A little bit. I love Alan Wake as well.
Mm.
How many do we have locked? 5?
6.
6?
Yep.
You can only have 4 of these? Ooh, it's tough. I don't even know, man. I don't even know, Sherm.
Yeah, this is an interesting one to sort out, isn't it?
I see the arguments for Eternal Darkness because it and Layers of Fear are the only two that fuck with you and your system.
Yeah.
So I understand that argument. Alan Wake and Soma, I think, are the two that have the best world building of what's left on here. I think Until Dawn doesn't land this ending, and I think I would cut it.
Mm.
What are you feeling, Kyle? What is standing out to you that you have concerns about?
I don't know. I personally just didn't care for the Layers of Fear game. We had the discussion. I still haven't retried to play it again. Let's see what else was next? Until Dawn. I don't know. That one I could probably cut it. Actually.
I never felt
Looking back at
I
it.
never had a tension feel when I was even like when you're playing the
I did.
Really? Even like when you're like it just felt like a quick I knew it was a QuickTime event, so I didn't really panic.
Well, I was going for a solid playthrough. So I wasn't gonna try and go back on any mistakes that I made or anything.
Right.
And like I can recall specifically like when you're running through the hallway in the hallway of the abandoned building from the Wendigos. That part was super tense for me. There were some parts towards the end that were a little tense. I don't know. It's one that like I like to show people. Like I've talked about that too. It's one that I like to play in front of other people to see their reaction because that's just fun.
But because of the choices, right? Like,
Yeah.
Isn't that why you like to play it in front of people? Because you see what they
Yeah.
choose and then where it goes from there.
Yeah.
I feel like there's little less, even though it's a choice-based game. This is kind of a weird thing that there's less agency. I don't feel like I'm in control of the characters as much. Like they're giving me 2 options and I have to choose one. I don't feel like I'm as much control, I guess.
I don't know. You think about it, that's all some games are anyway.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you're right, that is.
I don't know. Like you're right though. If you're talking about by yourself as a person, it's fun to play it again, but it's not really scary. I mean, and the first time that there is a big mystery aspect to it too. It's not necessarily like it is a horror game in every sense. And like it plays out like a horror movie, but there's also the big mystery aspect of it too. You know.
Yeah, there is.
That's
That's
tough.
That is a tough one. I'm actually okay with cutting Evil Within 2 now. The more I thought about it, it fits more into what Resident Evil 2 does. I don't have a sense of fear until I get to a boss in that game.
Yeah.
It's not hard to take down a group of zombies tactically in that game, as long as you're careful. I'm okay with losing Evil Within 2. I'd rather fight for some of these others.
See, I didn't play 2, and I only felt really scared at the beginning of 1.
Yeah.
Like the tension of being chased around when you had no weapons and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it has good psychological horror to it, not knowing what's real and what's not in a lot of cases,
Yeah.
and being able to go inside people's minds like that. I think that's an interesting idea. I don't think the idea is fleshed out in the first one at all. I think 2 they do a much better job of that. But if you haven't played 2, it's kind of hard to describe how good it is, I think. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I pushed the wrong button. Okay, I'm gonna make my pitch for Layers of Fear. If I'm still not even sure myself, but
By all means, make it happen.
okay, what makes that game so cool and unique is that you could play it 50 different times and get different results because there is no wrong way to play that game. There is things will time out. You can make choices that go either way, and it all depends. And it's all in search of just creating this painting that cannot actually be completed. You can't make it right because he's a tormented artist, and I don't know if you even see what the story is of that one, how it goes. Killed your family, but you're exploring this mansion, and you're going and you find out that this man has killed his family basically in service of his artwork because they just didn't understand. So kind of that tormented artist shit. But the idea is it's weird. But the idea is that you never know what is real in this fucking game. It is nothing but psychological. You don't know what walls are real. You don't know if something's really there. You don't know if you actually did something. You don't know, like when you solve a puzzle, you don't know if that was real or not. Because then because it's so psychological. It has such like hallucinations and shit. So it feels linear, but it's actually not in that sense because of all the choices you can make and all the ways that those can change, but you can't go back and change them. It's like you'd have to restart the game basically because I don't think there's checkpoints. So it's a really weird game in that sense. As far as like actual psychological things that scare the hell out of you, and it's full of it really reminds me of like PT, Kyle, in that sense, where it's a lot of those you went down a hallway and this door's locked. You're like, ah, shit. So you got to turn around. When you turn around, the room changes compared to what it was. You just came down that hallway, but now it's a brick wall on this side. You're like, oh, what the fuck? So you turn around, and now it's another brick wall on behind you. And you slowly realize the room is closing in with each 90-degree turn that you're making. But the game did that, and you had no idea it was coming. And it does a bunch of shit like that with, like, psychological shit. Or, like, just walking by, and all of a sudden the door opens or cracks open a little bit, and then you see a light coming through. You're like, oh, I guess that's where I'm going. You don't have to go through that door. So it's full of shit like that, and I really think that's a really cool game in that sense. And I guess when you said that blurred feeling, because you were talking about blur vision, which Amnesia has.
Motion blur.
Yeah, and which Amnesia has. And I really just didn't get that at all. Compared to like what Amnesia does, I just didn't feel that. I know that was your big complaint with Layers of Fear. That's a really tough one for me to cut right now, but I don't know how much of it is just recency bias because I did just finish it. I enjoyed the hell out of it because it does a lot of that stuff, Sherm, in like the sound direction is really good in it. Like so how Hellblade did it, where you could hear voices coming from all around you. It does that shit. So if you're playing with a full surround sound headset, it's gonna be fucking with you, like because you'll be walking down a hallway and you think you're fine. All of a sudden you hear like a whisper, like behind you. You're like, what the hell is that? And you turn around, like maybe that's when the door cracks open. You're like, oh, I don't want to go in there, but you have to go in there just to progress the story. So in that sense, like, there's no combat, there's nothing like that. There's no running from enemies. There is an enemy that can kill you, but it doesn't actually kill you. But it's a good jump scare. I don't know, man. I think that's a really cool fucking game. And like, as far as like scaring me, it made me jump a few times. As far as like surprise things, but it also has that little nightmares of like just unsettling, like, God damn it, I don't want to open this door, but you know you have to. Have you ever had that feeling? Like in BioShock was one of those I could think of, where like you're standing there and you know something's behind you. You just know the way the lights went out, you know that there's like maybe there's a shadow on the wall or something. And you're like, God damn it, I have to turn around. Don't want to. That's what this game is though. Like that's what that feeling is. It's like, God damn it, I don't want to do this, but you're gonna make me do it just to get through the game. And I think that's a really hard thing to get right in a game, and I think they nail it. That's my pitch for Layers of Fear. And see, I enjoyed that much more than I did Outlast, Until Dawn. Eternal Darkness is a hard one for me. I don't know how much of that is lost in time for me.
Oh, man.
The first time it happened, it's amazing. It really is. But it's the same thing like Metal Gear. But you know those tricks. I don't know, it doesn't hit the same way.
Yes and no. I mean, I'm one of the people that actually I don't know if you played it for all three playthroughs.
Did not.
Okay, see, I played all three playthroughs, and the third playthrough, it is well, obviously it gets tougher, but it's way freaking harder, and since it's way harder, it also screws with you a lot more, and it does more stuff to you. And I mean, even when it's doing more stuff to you, like there are times just because of the way and frequency it's screwing with you, especially if you're playing with someone else in the room. You know, you're at the point where you don't know if it's the game or the other person or
Yeah.
I don't know.
First time, right? Like that moment. Yeah, I don't want to take away from that.
Yeah.
You're right. We should lock that. We should lock that. You're right.
Yeah.
Is that a buzzer, Sherm?
It was something. It was something.
Yeah, you're right. We should lock Internal Darkness. You're right. I don't want to.
I think Layers of Fear sold me, and that's why I went ahead and marked it green to lock it, because I like the ever changing, never playing the same game twice type scenario. I like that, especially for a horror game. I think that's very important. I think for these standalone games where you know which way and which direction the monster is going to come from, or the enemy's going to come from, or whatever, that is not awesome going into. I mean, you're probably going to be a little bit scared, but you're going to go into this game realizing it's like, oh, well, if I go here instead, it's just going to be able to pass by me. I'm not going to get hurt, and I'm going to move on. It's like, at least Alien Isolation, I know that one's locked in, but that follows in the same kind of creed there too, is that you're going along the same pathway, but the alien will act different every time you play.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the things we got to think about too is all the other games are gonna be, not the same every time we play it than after we've played it the first time. Like you were just saying with Eternal Darkness. I mean, the same thing could be said about Dead Space, and that still is one of my, all-time favorite horror games,
But I am kind of buying. I do like the argument that Sherm says, though, but that's something Layers of Fear does that these other ones don't.
And I'm not saying anything against it. I was actually thinking, even though that I'm not sold on it, it would probably be okay to lock it just based on that.
I'm not saying that's an argument against Eternal Darkness. I'm saying I guess that's an argument for Layers of Fear. Something that it brings to the table.
No.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're okay with that then.
Okay.
All right, Sherm, tell me why you think Outlast. We wanted to lock Outlast.
Well, so I had to go back and reread on Outlast again, and I think what it was is that sold me on it was Whistleblower, which is the DLC for Outlast, which has you flipping actually around the roles instead, is that you're the one who actually brought the main character from Outlast to the facility itself, and as you're working through trying to make your way out of the facility, of course, after, having been there for what was actually going on, because I think that's the one I actually played through.
I forgot about Whistleblower.
Yeah, because Whistleblower, the reason why that one sticks in my head, and I hate that's the reason that it sticks in my head, is because in Whistleblower, that's when you end up in, like, the attic or something trying to run away from one of these guys, and that's when he, like, grabs you and puts you on a table saw and is about to, like cut you in half, and you see your dick hanging out, and here comes this table saw blade coming right up to you to take you down, and that's stuck in my head. That just messes with me so much to this day. But Outlast itself on its own is a really good one, because just like Amnesia, it takes a lot of cues from Amnesia. Specifically that there's no weapons that you can use to actually fight your way off. You have to go off of sound cues, and you're using your video camera to actually see in the dark for only so much time.
That's an awesome
You know?
mechanic. He's using it as your light source, is that fucking video camera, and it has to battery.
Exactly. The only big thing about it, though, of course,
is
that
good mechanic.
Yeah, the biggest thing about it, though, is compared to a lot of these other ones, you can't attack what's coming after you either. You just have to get away from them. I mean, you will be able to kill some characters as time goes on, but it's more of like the scripted part of when you can kill something, not necessarily you see someone pop up and freak you out. You can't, blast them or beat their head in with the camera. You can't do that.
Okay, let's cut Soma then.
Okay.
That's a pretty good argument for Outlast. I forgot it. Yeah, that's almost as good as like Alien Isolation's a little tracker thing that you can use the radar when the alien's getting close. Yeah, I like that for Outlast. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's 9.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So I'll let you two debate on which one the last one should be. I mean, any of these I don't necessarily have an issue with. I think Alan Wake really hasn't sold me as something to continue arguing about. It just doesn't really feel like it matches up with some of these other ones in regards to horror, but I could always be swayed the other way.
I think I know what it's going to be. Probably between two, but I think Fatal Frame, actually.
That's the one I was actually going to say, too. I think it should be Fatal Frame, too.
Yeah.
I like Silent Hill 2. It's my favorite of those, but I still don't think it's as good as a lot of horror games that people say. And I like your guys' arguments, actually, for some of these better than that. So,
well, then, I think
I would take Fatal Frame.
That's where we have it, then. So, we have ourselves a pretty decent setup on here, then.
That's a good 10, y'all.
I'm going to delete these other guys here. Just goodbye. And, yeah, so, Kyle, read us out here.
And Alan Wake.
Yeah, read us out here on this for part 1, and then for you folks, of course, listening to us on Facebook and YouTube, you'll see us go ahead and take a quick break here while we do our normal list part here. But, Kyle, what do we have?
So we've got Resident Evil 7, Dead Space, Amnesia Dark Descent, Little Nightmares, Alien Isolation, Condemned, Layers of Fear, Outlast, Fatal Frame 2, and Eternal Darkness.
Well, awesome. That's some good looking stuff. Yeah. So we'll take our quick break here, folks, and then we'll be right back to finish up our top horror video games. And we are back. So, guys, do we have a list? I don't know if any of you are talking. Oh, probably help with the fact that I'm muted and trying to talk to you guys, but I can't, so go me.
Yeah, good job.
Nice job, dumbass.
Amateur error.
Dude,
Shit.
I'm managing so much shit here at like one time. I need to like actually take a picture of what I'm trying to do here right now so you guys can see what's up.
Yeah, that's just one more thing you have to do.
Just one more little thing was just hit that mute button. So, but we have a list, right, guys?
You have a list.
Oh man,
Something like that.
something like that. Am I going to be
It's a damn
terrified?
fine list of 10 awesome games.
Am I going to be terrified of the results?
I don't think you'll play any of these.
Probably not.
I think you're too scared.
Well, so quick recap of what was on this list then. It's Resident Evil 7, Dead Space, Amnesia Dark Descent, Little Nightmares, Alien Isolation, Condemned, Layers of Fear, Outlast, Fatal Frame 2, and Eternal Darkness. So, what came in at number 10?
Any guess? You want me to tell you?
Just tell me.
Tell you? No, now I want you to guess.
Untitled Goose Game.
I want to play coy. No, god damn it! Speaking of horror games.
What was it?
Oh. I'm gonna tell you. Calm down. I'm like building the suspense. Here's a fear. Number 10.
Okay.
Kyle doesn't like good games. He
Oh,
has a
said it.
because he has a fucking bone to pick with motion blur, even though I don't think Layers of Fear has motion blur.
I'm fairly certain it does. I don't know. There had to have been something wrong with that game that made me want to put it down.
You put every game down.
Not that quick.
Oh, you guys are cool.
Oh yeah.
I think
My mom said so.
Let me see.
I think Layers of Fear definitely has that neat mechanic though of just keeping things interesting and mixing it up. So again, you're not playing the same game twice. I just feel that there are some other games on here that may not necessarily be like that anyway, but I still feel that they hold on to that horror value maybe a little bit more than Layers of Fear does.
Well, what's in it? Number 9.
Condemned. Which is actually
Oh,
my
what?
Condemned is in my 10 spot.
Condemned I had at 7.
I had Condemned probably too high.
So you're just upset for the sake of being upset. Got it.
Yeah, because I can't.
Got it.
God damn it.
No, you can't. You're not allowed.
I mean,
We've
I
talked about
like
this.
Condemned too, but at some point, I almost don't think it's a horror game.
Yeah.
There is quite a bit of action in Condemned. I think it walks that line enough that I could put it in the horror genre. Not as much as I would Layers of Fear. I'm having a tough time on that. I think Layers of Fear is better than 10. I don't know how much I want to fight it, really.
I'd be curious to hear a little bit of fight from you on this one, Preston. I don't know.
Because you guys have some that I think Alien. You guys have Alien too high.
Why is that? Just
Alien's
humor us.
Alien's all the way in the 4 spot, and I have Alien at the 9 spot.
Where did you
That
have it, Kyle?
That game is like 16 to 18 hours long. That's long for a horror game. Well, by the time you get to it, you learn the tricks of how to deal with the alien. It no longer you're not scared of it by the end. So I think that game goes on too long and loses a lot of its fear by the end of it, probably about 2/3 of the way through. Also has a lot of playability issues and the shitty save mechanic in that game with actual save points like Resident Evil, except sometimes you don't have a choice where, like in Resident Evil, you can go back to the typewriter room anytime you want. You can't do that in Alien Isolation. You have to find those shitty save points. They're scattered throughout, so they show up naturally. I think that's a shitty mechanic for instilling fear and anxiety. Like you don't want to die, but it's not because you're scared. You don't want to die because you don't want to go back 30 minutes to a fucking save point. I think that's a shitty mechanic. I think Alien Isolation, other than the alien, there are no other enemies. Like it's one thing that you're afraid of the whole time. I think it made it the top 10 because it has a really responsive AI that makes you think and feels like a real cat and mouse game. So that's why I have that up in the 9 spot. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not sure really where to put Alien Isolation then on this one. I just think that it did it very well to at least keep the heightened sense of fear going on. But I only got maybe about 4 to 6 hours into it. I'm more of one to actually not necessarily complete games, but just try them out as much as I can. And so I would just think that something like maybe Alien Isolation just only sold me up to that point. But if it does feel like you do get used to the mechanics of going only at like of how they react and how they go, especially as you get towards endgame, then okay, I can understand maybe that does need to come down a little bit lower.
It's the same with Outlast. That's actually my problem with Outlast too. Is I think that game starts off real strong, but by the time I figured out how to manipulate the AI and knowing how they would react in a chase, like hide and seek version, like hiding under beds and in lockers and shit.
Right.
I lost a lot out of Outlast at that point. I think Alien Isolation falls along that line. And
okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm. Like, I get it that I have a boner for Layers of Fear and I have that too high because I have that at the 4 spot. So I get that I'm stupid about that. Also, I might be stupid about Fatal Frame too because I have that way higher than you guys.
But you may not necessarily be wrong, though. You may not necessarily be wrong, though, because, I rated the few games I rated down here at my lower points, like Layers of Fear, Fatal Frame 2, and Eternal Darkness, was that, they made it to the top 10 because you guys sold me on why they should be here. But those are a few games that it's like I haven't played. And so it's tough for me to be able to provide a better idea on it. Whereas, it's like I haven't played Little Nightmares, but I like the concept of Little Nightmares being this horror game, but it's a platforming sneak around horror game instead of everything else where it's a third person, first person, like I was discussing in the first half. So that's why it's up higher for me. It may not necessarily be in the number 1, it's in the top 5. But those other ones that are there are just ones I haven't touched ever.
Yeah, I had Little Nightmares at the 8 spot because I felt it was more unsettling than it is horror.
Right, but
Since
that could still. But even in the grand scheme of being unsettling, it can still fill that niche that is a horror video game, though. Too is that's the whole point of horror games, anyway. Is that there are parts of it that have to be unsettling. I mean, Outlast has a psychotic priest, and that's in quotes, that you end up having to deal with, at certain points in time. And, it's you're talking about gore as well, too, that goes through it. And a lot of it is just stuff that's just laying out there. And, of course, it's not necessarily just supposed to be scary, but a lot of it is supposed to be unsettling. The same goes for Amnesia with the shadow along the walls. And you're talking Resident Evil 7, where you're just, you're wandering around looking for things. I know PT didn't make the list, but PT, of course, was you had a creature following you around the entire time, too, that was just honestly unsettling because you had little things that would happen around you. And so I think that lends into the horror games themselves, and that's why I had Little Nightmares up higher.
Okay, if you like that argument, then you need to have Layers of Fear higher because that is all Layers of Fear is.
No, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I had it at the top of the lower side of the list necessarily for me, because I've played some of Condemned, but Layers of Fear is really where it starts on games that I have not played. And so that's why it ranked up at least at that point. But if you think that with the side of the unsettling, with the changing up of the levels and that too, then sure, it can definitely come up. It just, how far do you think it should really go?
I don't know. I don't know about any of this shit.
Well, let's see. So we know that 10 is
10 right now is Layers of Fear. I think that's too low.
Okay, and then 9 again was Condemned. What's 8?
8 is Eternal Darkness.
Where'd you have that one, Kyle? Let's see. Number 3.
I had it way too high up.
Yeah, Kyle has it really high up.
That one, I I have a lot of nostalgia for. I have to admit that's the only reason it's that high up.
But that was the first one of these horror games that fucked with you like that.
It was,
Oh,
and if you
I think that
like I
deserves to
said,
be a
if you
little
played
higher, yeah.
through all 3 playthroughs and got to the point where, you know, how at the beginning you pick one color stone or whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
and that's your first element that you get to use, or your first spell set that you get to use. Either it's red, blue, or I forgot what the other one was. Green, I think. And then you can get purple, which is like a master one, but you can only get that, like, I want to say 2/3 of the way through the game in a special area. But by the time you get to the 3rd playthrough, because the other 2 stones or the other 2 colors are gone, you don't ever get those, and it's just infinitely harder to beat enemies, and your fear goes way up, and I don't know, it just gets crazy.
I'm kind of with you. I don't know if it's aged that well for that time.
It hasn't aged the greatest, I'll admit. I feel like it aged a little bit better than Fatal Frame, but I don't know. I still like Fatal Frame too, though.
I do too. I have Fatal Frame at the 2 spot, which I know I'm wrong.
And I had Fatal Frame lower, but that's also because I liked some of the other games more, and that it's each of our own rankings. So
yeah,
That's how these things work.
besides the number 1 spot, everything's they just start going up by 2s basically.
yeah,
Just kind of they're kind of all hanging around each other except for the number 1 spot, which is hands down. Oh, I guess the number 2 spot's higher than the rest, but honestly, I think Resident Evil 7's too high. That's the number 2 game right now. I'll just read you the list real fast of how it is, and I guess we can talk about how we want to move it if we do.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's a good
8
idea.
would be Eternal Darkness. 7 would be Little Nightmares. Amnesia and Fatal Frame are both tied for 6 and 5. 4 would be Alien Isolation. 3 is Outlast. 2 is Resident Evil 7, and number 1 is Dead Space. I think that is too high for Outlast. I think that is too high for Alien Isolation. I think that is too high for Resident Evil 7.
I don't think that's too high for Resident Evil 7. I could buy that Outlast could go that high. I'm not a big fan of it, but I don't know. It is a really good horror game in all aspects, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like Resident Evil 7 starts out so good. The first half of that game is a perfect survival horror game, I think. And then you get the guns. And then it changes into more of a Resident Evil game, old style, where it's a little more action-y. And I think it starts detracting from the horror pretty fast there. Like, when I fought the girl, I think that's the mom. Is it the mom who's the one with, like, the bugs, the hives and shit in the area? Okay, that area was just
in that area.
garbage. It's just absolute fucking garbage as far as, like, a survival horror thing goes. That was more of a nuisance than anything. It wasn't a survival horror feel at all. I didn't feel anxious. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel any of that stuff I'm supposed to feel.
See, that one got to me.
Out of here.
That fight got to me. Yeah.
I felt like that was just so annoying. I was like, God, I'm so sick of these fucking hives and all these bugs. It felt like that felt cliche and like horror tropes that I've seen so many. It's like going into the sewers in a fucking horror game. Like, of course you're gonna do bugs. Fatal Frame, like that one's just so unique. Camera's your weapon, and you gotta stop ghosts. You gotta take their picture.
Yeah.
What a cool fucking game mechanic. That's why I have Condemned all the way at the bottom. Condemned is, honestly, it's just has decent melee combat and jump scares with people jumping out a lot. That was where most of the anxiety comes from in Condemned. That's why I think Condemned should be number 10. And Amnesia, fuck. Amnesia was the first one that did not give you weapons, but also fucked with you. So it takes the best parts of Eternal Darkness and the best parts of... It was the first one that did that. You have no weapons. It's a run and hide game. That was pretty fucking cool. Outlast is built off the back of Amnesia, and I don't want to give Outlast that much credit, I guess. The only unique mechanic in that one is the video camera, which I think is a really cool mechanic. The Amnesia has something similar with the darkness, where it increases your insanity the darker it gets in the castle. It's a pretty cool mechanic, too.
I don't know. I felt like the whole video camera heightened the tension.
I think it does, too.
That's where I will come to bat for Outlast. Especially, when you're playing and you have one battery and you're getting kind of low and there's an enemy around and, you pop up the camera and his face is right there and his eyes are glowing right in your face and you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, that is a really cool mechanic. That's why I put Outlast at 5 on my list. Just don't think it's better than the best ones we have. In Alien Isolation, it's very one note in comparison to a lot of these. I really like that Alien. And I love Alien Isolation. It pisses me off more people haven't played it. I don't know, Sherm. This could go fucking any way. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing on this one.
Trust me, it's the same way with me too, because again, it's like for me to play a horror game and actually like complete it and such, it's definitely kind of a big thing. And that's why it's tough for me to kind of like give any additional feedback on Layers of Fear, Fatal Frame 2, and Eternal Darkness, because at least these other ones are, I guess, even Little Nightmares as well, because these other ones at least I've somewhat touched or at least somewhat aware of.
What were you saying, Kyle?
Let's see. You said what was just above 5 and 6? What was it? What was it? The 4 spot?
4 spot?
Yeah.
Alien Isolation is the 4 spot. That just seems way too high.
What if we dropped Alien Isolation to 6, Amnesia to 5, and then Fatal Frame to 4?
I don't know how much I want to bat for. Like, I love Fatal Frame, but I could easily be wrong. Like, just because I put it at 2. It's a basic. As far as like the movement and how you traverse that area, it is just like Silent Hill. It is just like those other fucking isometric horror games.
See, and I was willing to work with you a little bit. I don't really care for that one. It's dated.
It is dated. It is hard to play those now. I think it holds up decently. What do you guys think about? Okay, so let's start. What do you guys think about?
You are right, though. It is the first one to follow that format, so I will give it props for that. But I feel like because of that, Outlast does do it better.
Between Amnesia and Outlast?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to work with the list we have,
I don't like the list we have.
Well, that's what it came down to, so...
Yeah, it's like, what do you want me to say about the way the list came out here, too, Preston? I mean...
You're all over the fucking place on this.
Well, yeah, but whose fault is that one, though?
Well, it's your guys', because when you haven't played half the games on the list.
No, I think it's your fault. I think you have too much of a hard-on for horror games.
I'm sorry I've played all fucking 10 of these games. Like... Okay, what do we decide on 10 first? I don't even know what's number 10. The Layers of Fear is too good to be number 10. As a horror game, it's too fucking good.
I was fine with that one at 10.
I know you are.
That's where I had it, so...
It's better than Condemned. As a horror game, it's much better than Condemned as a horror game. It's Layers of Fear is trying to fuck with you the whole time.
I'll give you that. So we swap Layers of Fear and Condemned.
God, that feels still so fucking low for Layers of Fear.
Where did Fatal Frame end up at?
Fatal Frame's number is tied at the 6 and 5 spot with Amnesia.
Maybe move Layers of Fear up below Amnesia and move Fatal Frame down.
What does that put it at 9?
Yo Mama.
So that would put the 8 spot to 9, which would be Eternal Darkness. I think that feels too low for Eternal Darkness to me.
Yeah, that's too low.
Originality, like, of fucking with someone, I think at least gets it to 6 or 7.
Yeah.
See, this is why I would put Little Nightmares and Alien this low.
I can give you Alien going down lower. You know, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I already conceded to that one, so.
So you guys okay with Alien at 9?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's okay. I think that the AI does a really good job then there towards the beginning to, really get you in the understanding that you can't just really get away from the xenomorph no matter what. You're going to have to really be skillful with it. But as you've said too, as the time goes on through the game, past where I ended up getting to, that you're able to actually really figure out the movements and the mechanics of the creature itself and can really kind of get past or at least be better about it. So I would think that, that kind of lends into the same thing with some of these other games that, haven't made it. I think that's where it kind of does. It made it as far as it could, and it's a great addition here, to actually see something like this in the Alien universe come in as a video game, compared to what Colonial Marines was and what we saw for the previous entries in the Alien realm too, like, the Alien versus Predator games, which weren't bad, but they weren't horror games. Those are just action games. So I think that's probably about as far as it's actually going to get.
It just has such a huge dead spot of like where it starts feeling really repetitive, and you're like, okay, it's the same thing over and over again here. It does have a really cool spot where you go into an alien hive, and you've only been dealing with one alien the whole time, and all of a sudden you see all these eggs and shit, and you see aliens crawling around, these other xenomorphs, and you're like, oh my god, how the fuck am I going to deal with that? That was a really cool moment, but other than that, that's towards the end. I'm okay with it at 9. Hey! Okay.
Progress, baby.
8. How about Fatal Frame at 8?
See, and I had Fatal Frame a little bit lower, but I thought it would wind up higher than that. But...
It is just so dated, though. Like,
yeah,
it just happened.
Very dated. I feel like if they remade that game, it would be an instant hit.
I think it would too, because the mechanics are so cool and the ghosts are so fucking terrifying in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a game of like you caught something out of the glimpse of your eye and you're trying to get the camera ready. Like, do that in a movie where like the person's like fumbling for the camera, trying to get it up really fast to get the evidence of the ghost or something. But by the time he does it, it's gone. That's what the whole game is, and they'll jump out of corners and all that shit.
And I feel like that's kind of what that Phasmophobia that came out recently, the multiplayer game.
Heard that game.
I feel like that's what it's trying to capture, is that that fleeting, oh shit, it was just here. We got to track it. Hurry, hurry, hurry,
I kind of, maybe I should. Okay, go ahead and put Layers of Fear at 8. Write these down, Sherm.
No, of course not.
You're
because we got so confused on how things are going to end up being laid out. I got myself all mixed up here on writing things out, but fine. Okay, here I go. All right, so number...
Condemned at 10.
Condemned at 10.
Alien 9. Layers of Fear 8. I can live with Layers of Fear at 8.
Okay.
I'll stop fighting it.
Thank
I
God.
think it's better than the rest of these. Fuck you! I played them all.
I know you have. Shut up.
That would put Little Nightmares at 7.
Okay. I could live with that.
We don't at 7.
Well, actually, yeah, I would much rather see, I think, Fatal Frame at 7 and Little Nightmares at 6.
See, and I was fighting for Fatal Frame to be higher than Amnesia.
I think I like it better than I like it better than Amnesia too, but Amnesia's so fucking good. Amnesia should be at least top 5.
See, and I feel like Fatal Frame was, when you said that it was it and Fatal Frame fighting for the 5 spot, for me it was Fatal Frame.
Well, I also think you guys have Outlast and Resident Evil 7 too high. Both of those
that's what you think.
I think those should both drop below Fatal Frame and Amnesia.
And I disagree.
Same here.
Why? Like, Resident Evil 7, the first half of it's really fucking good. And Outlast, it's the one mechanic all throughout the game. I don't even like Outlast.
I don't either.
Yeah, I just said you didn't. It's so hard for it to be high up.
And I thought you said I don't, like as in you.
Ah, the English I. Aye. Okay. I want Little Nightmares at 7. Or Eternal Darkness.
That's what I'm thinking. I really think Little Nightmares needs to be up a little bit more. I really like the idea of that game, and that's a game I think I need to actually check out.
It's cool.
Yeah, it really looks like it. Don't get me wrong, I like the idea of that. It seems freaky enough. It's going to get me to jump probably in a couple spots, but honestly, yeah, I want to give that game a shot.
So
what are we locking down?
Now we're at 7. We're trying to fight the 7 spot. We're up through 8. What do you want at 7, Kyle?
Amnesia.
Why? It's just a blur?
Yeah. For the most part. That's a little dated.
Talk about dated Eternal Darkness. Hello.
I don't know. I still like that game.
The blur effect is supposed to be fucking with you. If you play the game with light on all times, but that's just really hard to do. You don't have a blur effect in Amnesia. That's the point. It's supposed to. It's like a sanity meter, kind of thing, like Eternal Darkness has. Which is a really cool fucking mechanic. Then they did the no weapon hide everywhere before even Outlast, or what's the other one that we had? Alien Isolation. Yeah, that's already at 9.
Amnesia can also fall into the same category too, is that Amnesia didn't have any weapon set either that you used. It was the getting through and hiding and such as well.
It's so good it is.
So that means it has one mechanic as well.
And the mechanic is the sanity throughout the whole game, but you have items and stuff you can use. It's a puzzle game at the same time. Yeah, that was the first one I could think of that did where you are helpless against these monsters. Everything else.
Okay, that's fair.
even Fatal Frame, where you're like, you don't have a way to kill him, you at least have a camera it's basically the gun, but it's just a camera.
Right.
You want Little Nightmares higher than that, Sherm?
I honestly think it deserves that credit there. I think it's a unique take on the horror side of things and thriller side of things that these other ones really aren't, but I can see the merit in some others that definitely deserve to be above it. That's why it's like I'm kind of settled on it at least being 6.
I could go with Eternal Darkness at 7, Little Nightmares at 6.
I'd be okay with that.
Guess. This is ridiculous. Yeah, I guess that sounds like that's as high as I'm going to get Amnesia. It's 5.
There's nothing wrong with Amnesia either, you know. I don't think there's anything wrong there.
Fucking horror game out there.
I wouldn't say it's the best, but
so fucking good. I really want to play the new one. I heard the new one's really fucking good.
Rebirth? Yeah, I was watching some videos of that giant bomb playing it, and I'm gonna stay away from that myself, thanks. You have fun with that.
Because the game knows how to fuck, man. Like, just better than Resident Evil 7. Only half of Resident Evil 7 is good. God damn it!
Oh, man. I mean, you say so. I'm honestly willing to give you Resident Evil 7 at number 5 and Amnesia at number 4.
Would be happy at that. And then I'll stop.
No, you won't, Preston.
Well, I'll stop.
What do you think, Kyle? Do you think we could give him Resident Evil 7 at 5 and Amnesia at 4?
Stop.
No.
Son of a big Kyle. Oh. Amnesia's so fucking good.
It's okay.
I'd leave it at 5. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Okay, fine. Amnesia's at 5 then still. All right, so now out of these 4, Fatal Frame, Outlast, Dead Space, and Resident Evil 7.
Resident Evil 7 needs to be 4.
Okay. I think we can do that. Right, Kyle? Can we do that?
Or we could put Outlast at 4.
Resident Evil 7. It should be number 5 because only half of it's good. That gets it to the halfway point on the list.
That's not how this works, Preston.
That's science. No, Outlast has nothing but original mechanic. There's nothing original about Resident Evil 7. It takes everything from other games.
Yeah, I did say that earlier.
Yeah. That is true.
Amnesia has an original mechanic too.
He's trying hard.
I am saying that Amnesia should be higher, and I know just the way to get there. God, this is so frustrating. If you want to play Outlast at 3, I'm okay with that. You guys really gonna let me get Fatal Frame all the way up to number 2?
I think so.
Let me have Amnesia at 2. Fatal Frame.
I'm gonna let you two fight that out. I don't think I'm gonna be able to really help too much on this side, at least here. I think you guys are having the better arguments on this one, so.
I really just don't understand Resident Evil 7 that high, man. Number 5's not a bad spot. That's a great spot. Amnesia created a whole genre of horror games.
It did. It's what inspired Outlast.
Soma plays the same way. It does.
That too.
Even the first half of Resident Evil 7 is like Amnesia. You don't like the blur mechanic. I don't think you should really hold that.
It's closer to like the first like 2/3 of the game.
Better than half.
So.
I like Resident Evil 7 too, but same with Outlast. God damn it.
Mm-hmm. I thought you didn't care that much about this list.
I don't like that Amnesia is getting put down this far. It's so fucking good. It's insane. Talk me into Resident Evil 7. Tell me why, like, any reasoning why it's better. Outlast. Yeah, at least you gave me Outlast as the camera. That camera does add to that suspense. But what does Resident Evil 7 do? Makes it a better horror.
It was a completely different perspective on that subject matter. Because I don't want to say that genre or that game, but like, I mean, the subject matter of the game. Like it was just a different perspective on the subject matter of the game, and it was fresh and it was new and it really worked.
Talk about fresh, and like I said, Amnesia, it was so fresh that everyone started copying them, including Resident Evil 7. And Outlast. Fatal Frame, I wouldn't argue too much with you because Fatal Frame at least has a unique mechanic that's all to itself, and even Outlast anymore. Like, I'd almost let you have Outlast over Amnesia. Because Outlast, I do kind of agree with you. The chasing and the actual movement mechanics in Outlast are better than Amnesia. They feel better. They feel smoother. So that cat and mouse game in Outlast feels better than it does in Amnesia. Resident Evil 7, I don't find that. And it should, because it's fucking 8 years later.
Yeah. Okay, move Resident Evil 5 down.
Number 5!
You mean Resident Evil 7?
7, yeah. That's
I'm going to say, if
I
this
meant.
was Resident Evil 5, it needs to be off this list and something else added.
Put that at number 2.
Go away, Preston.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm done.
I don't think you are.
And I'm done. I'll let Amnesia stay at 4. Last 3, Fatal Frame 2, Dead Space 1. Is that how you want to end it? Or do you want to move any of that around?
How'd you say it?
Oh, that would put Resident Evil 7 at 5, Amnesia at 4, Outlast 3, Fatal Frame 2, Dead Space 1. Fatal Frame 2.
Lock it in?
Lock it in.
Oh.
I'm okay with that, actually. I'm okay with that, aren't you?
Down.
You what?
I've worn you guys down, finally. Damn.
Oh, congrats to you, I suppose.
I'm proud of you, man. You fucking, I had to keep coming back.
Well, kudos to you on that one, Preston, for sure.
Oh, sure. You got Outlast.
I got Outlast at number 3, baby. I can live with that.
That's fucking ridiculous. Like,
it's not. This is great.
Make me mad, man. I'm gonna keep pushing Amnesia. You better just stop. No, Outlast is Outlast. It was free on PlayStation Plus the first week it came out, wasn't it? They give that one away for free.
I don't know if it was the first week, but it was like the first, like, it was like the next month or something.
Mm.
You play the second Outlast, Ulshroom?
No, I didn't. I only played the DLC Whistleblower.
Hold on. You're going to put Outlast at number 3 and you didn't even play the fucking game?
I played part of it. But I played all of Whistleblower. Shut up.
You just did the fucking DLC of Whistleblower and you're going to tell me it's better than Amnesia? Suck my taint, you fucking asshole. No goddamn way. This fucking bullshit.
Hey, Preston, remember you said you didn't care after Amnesia got to number 4, so fuck you.
I didn't think you were gonna pull that rabbit out the hat. I gotta be honest.
I pulled half the rabbit out of the hat.
Fucking end up. God damn it!
Just the ass end.
Yeah, just the ass end. Thank you, Kyle. God damn it! Read them off, Sherm. I'm so fucking mad at you right now. We should put Outlast number 1. You guys see the DLC? We haven't even talked about Dead Space.
We didn't even have to because we all agree that game is that good. All right, so at number 10 we have Condemned. Alien Isolation is at number 9. We have Layers of Fear at 8. Eternal Darkness at 7. 6 is Little Nightmares. 5 is Resident Evil 7. 4 is Amnesia: Dark Descent. 3 is Outlast. 2 is Fatal Frame 2, and rounding it out at the number 1 spot for top horror video games, Dead Space.
Kyle, do you think it's just Dead Space because of that fucking opening? That is one of the strongest openings to a video game I think I've ever seen, and I wonder if that's what completely sells that game.
No, it hits so many notes for me, honestly. Like the space, sci-fi, the tight confined areas, the different enemy, because it was, but prior to that, it was always just shoot for the head,
Yeah.
And, all of a sudden you shoot for the limb and it's like, what? I have to shoot for their arms?
It's a cool mechanic, yeah.
Yeah, and especially when you're panicked, when like 2, 3, 4 of those guys come at you, you're like, oh god, shoot for the arms, shoot for the limbs. It's like, well, shit, which one?
Yeah, exactly. You could take one. Yeah.
Set pieces are really pretty awesome. Like when you get strobe light effects going off and these things are running at you, breaking through window vents or through vents in the wall.
Also, that whole segment going through the nursery.
It's Dead Space 2.
What? No,
that was
Dead Space 1.
There was Dead Space 2. Yeah, because
Dead Space 2 you were thinking of. It is a terrifying moment, but that's Dead Space 2. There's no nursery on the Ishimura.
I could have swore you did it in Dead Space 1 as well.
It was only a Dead Space. I thought the best part in Dead Space 2 was when you actually went back to the Ishimura. It was a fucking great moment.
Oh, yeah.
And everything's just covered in blood clots and shit. They're like, dude, we don't know what the fuck happened to this place.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good fucking game. And it's not even like how Resident Evil likes to use slow shooting mechanics with your, what's it called? What the hell's that called? Can't move, but you shoot. Or you can aim while you're standing still. Take controls, thank you.
Take controls, yeah.
Thank you. Dead Space moved very quickly. It was a good shooter.
It really wasn't tank controls though.
No, Dead Space wasn't, and that's what I was saying. Like even though it didn't do that, it moved fairly quickly. Somehow you still felt under a lot of pressure to land these shots. Because there's a lot of times, like you said, you'll be surrounded by 4 of them. You have to land a shot. Otherwise, you're in trouble. They're going to land some hits on you. And it's like, God damn it.
And those deaths, like, I'm not going to lie. Like, my first playthrough, after I died, like, twice, I was like, screw it. I just want to die to every enemy at least once to see what type of different animation plays out. Because they actually programmed different animations for all the different enemies.
Remember the one that was attached to the wall, and he would start screaming at you, and he'd shoot out tentacles, and you'd have to use like one of the saws to just fucking sit there and pull them apart with a fucking saw. Oh, those guys are creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good choice. All right, you guys sold me on Dead Space. So I would have put it in the box.
All right, then. With all of that said, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to this week's topic episode. Don't forget to check us out on anchor.fm/the-NPCs-podcast. That is the home of our podcast. You can find all the different episodes that we do there. You can also find every single platform that we're supported on as well. So please make sure to go ahead and check us out on there. You can check us out on social media, on Facebook and on Twitter at the NPCs Podcast. You can also check us out on YouTube. Just search for the NPCs or grab that link from any of our other platforms as well. Kyle and I on Friday nights do a weekly video game news roundup on Facebook and on YouTube, talking about the week's video game news. So please make sure to tune in and check that one out with us. Again, thanks so much, everybody, for checking this one out with us. We'll catch you all in the next episode.
Deuces.
Bye.